This is Tim.
And Mulele.
And this is Critiquing Comics. Welcome to Critiquing Comics. This is Tim with Mulele in Tokyo, still getting caught up on our queue of submitted comics. And actually, this first one from Dave Malley, which I guess is a pen name, but we'll use that one. I owe him an apology because he sent this to us on August 6th, and somehow the message didn't get tagged right, or I tagged it and then mistakenly untagged it, because I did respond to him at the time. But it got overlooked, and we kind of went past where we should have gotten to this one in the queue. And the email that he sent me back in August, he said, I wanted to write to thank you for this podcast. Having a site that gives honest reviews is an invaluable resource. With that said, I'd like to draw your attention to my comic, Alex. I'm publishing it on Webtoons as part of their current contest. Well, it's not current anymore. But he says, I don't think I've ever heard you guys review a comic like this one, specifically designed for the web to be read on smartphones. So if you're not against the idea, I would love to hear your opinion. Well, I mean, comics are comics. So yes, we will review it, just a bit belatedly is all. Now, I don't know he hasn't put up a chapter since September 4th, so I don't know if, like, the end of the contest sort of sapped his incentive to keep going, or if he just got busy with life, or what's going on. But there are 4 chapters there, done in July, August, and September. And Alex is, I gather, basically about the life of Alexander the Great. So, yeah, I don't know. I ended up not taking a lot of notes about this one, but basically, yeah, it's the life. It shows him as a kid growing up, and teenage years and whatever. That's as far as we are in the 4 chapters. And I thought it was pretty good, except the only thing that bugged me was it felt a little bit to me like I would appreciate it more if I already knew the story. If I knew more about Alexander the Great than I do. Yeah,
I felt it too.
Yeah, it felt like, for example, I'm looking at chapter 4 here, and there's this whole thing about how there was this really difficult horse, and he's, I don't know, a teenager, and he is able to just approach the horse and calm it down and get on it, and everybody's amazed by it. But and then there's this bit where somebody comments about, is that in this scene? Yeah, there it is. Look, he's turned the beast towards the sun, and it can no longer see its shadow. Okay, I think I misread that a little bit earlier, but still, I sort of felt like I was missing something there. I don't know.
I think it does rely quite a bit on knowing what the story is, because I feel like I'm getting like a Cliff's Notes version of the Cliff's Notes. Mm-hmm. It seems so. It seems to be referencing quite a bit, and so for me, yeah, it was a little bit hard to follow there. But also, there seems to be no clear through line as to, or setup as to how the story is going to progress. We have these chapters, but it kind of jumps a bit. So, like chapter 1, the long feud. They're at war, or they're getting ready to go to war. Then they're in war, and then the king hears that he has a son, and then chapter 2 is the birth. We see the birth of the son, and then it jumps ahead 8 years. And so the war referenced in the long feud is now done, we assume. The whole thing about the Persians are going to invade, or we're going to invade the Persians to preemptively knock them down, or whatever that was, that's never mentioned again. And so there's kind of a it references history, but it doesn't directly
like explain.
It doesn't explain it. But it's kind of like, if I were to do the same thing with Star Wars, it would be like, oh yeah, there's that guy, he's a real badass dude, and he had a glowing sword, and the Force, and hey, the good guys won in the end. And so the meat and potatoes of what the story is seems to be kind of missing. There's no like, okay, Alex was a fuck up as a kid, but he was such a fuck up. There's no way you could believe that he became a great leader. At least no one that we call Alexander the Great. We have was it Socrates?
Yeah, I think that's who it was. I did recognize the name, but
yeah. So anyway, Socrates talks about being great, but as kind of like a prelude to Alexander becoming great. But see, what I had heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, but Alexander the Great went to China and there found the emperor was being treated and worshipped as a god, and he thought that was a wonderful idea of trying to bring it back to his homeland, and was so ridiculed for it. Alexander the Great was a name that mocked him rather than actually celebrating him. Because they're like, you're no god. You're just an asshole who thinks he's great. So Alexander the Great. And so with that kind of in mind, kind of seeing this thing where Socrates is talking about...
Well, actually, it's Aristotle. I just found the reference. He studied under Plato and Socrates, it says. But okay. Yeah, this is Aristotle.
All right, so Aristotle then. So if Aristotle is talking to Alex as a prelude to this, it kind of feels weird, like, you know, he was a man destined for greatness and nothing could stop him, and it's the building of a legend. But I just kind of don't see it, other than he is able to train a horse quickly. So in that sense, it kind of falls down, but also for the fact that we haven't had any updates since September, and now we're in December, pretty much. When is this going to come out?
Whenever I get time to edit it. But okay, yeah, it should be first part of December.
Yeah, so I mean, well, as at the time of recording, the last update was 2-3 months ago. So
yeah, just days short of 3 months ago.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like he has also kind of given up on the story here. I think with some planning, some heavy planning, you could make a really awesome story with this subject. Especially if it's a historical action, then yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of work in doing a full color comic, and if he was struggling to put these 4 things out, and the contest didn't go the way he wanted it to go, then I can see where he was just like, you know what, I'm done. And those fucking guys in that podcast never did my comic either. Sorry, man.
I could have been famous if they'd featured my comic earlier. It's all our fault.
Yeah, but I can kind of see where maybe he bit off a little bit more than he could chew. His story is incredibly expansive with tons of history and detail. It's like I don't like drawing historical comics, is because they're just so fucking hard to do, and you can't please anybody, because, like, you know, actually those columns don't actually look like that. And you see the statues are white now, but back in the day they were painted, so they should be very colorful things. And it's like, man, who cares? But enough people care that it makes it a pain for the artist. So yeah, I kind of get the feeling that he bit off more than he could chew.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, I've certainly seen other historical comics or movies or whatever that feel really episodic like this, but it's a little bit more of a through line would be nice. To create some kind of like recurring motif or something that carries through. So you feel like you're reading a story instead of episodes of a TV show from the 70s where there's no continuity.
Yeah, well, at least a TV show from the 70s, we get the basic idea of it in the opening. Like the Steve Austin, a man barely alive, gentlemen, we can rebuild him. And then suddenly he's running fast and he's seeing far away and all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. So in that sense, if there could be just like, there's this really great guy who did all this wonderful stuff and he's roundly admired and revered for how great he was. Let me tell you about his fucked up childhood. Then I'm in. I'm there for that story. I want to know, okay, this great man had a fucked up childhood. Tell me his fucked up childhood. And I'm waiting to see how bad it is. So there's no setup of expectation for any of this stuff. It's like, yeah, there was this guy named Alex. Hint, hint. He was great. Hint, hint. so it doesn't have that setup to get going.
Yeah, like you've already seen the opening or at least that's what assumed, but you actually haven't. So
yeah,
you missed the part about we can rebuild him.
Yeah. It's like Steve Austin. Okay, cut to the episode. That's it.
That's funny. Why does he have that weird eye? Why could he pick up a truck?
He's running really, really slow now. What is going on? Is everybody on drugs?
Why is he fighting Bigfoot? Anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I do want to say the artwork was a little bit primitive, but it was fine. The colors were fine. Some of the world building and story devices were a little bit weak, but yeah, that's about it. I would say if the creator of the comic does other comics that are not based on history, he may in fact do a little bit better because he will naturally not be able to rely on anything. He just has to tell the story straight.
Mm-hmm. One really minor thing that kind of I don't know. So because of the format that this is in for Webtoon, the reader sees the top of the panel first.
Yeah.
And I think he was trying to take advantage of that. And, I didn't see any problems as far as that goes. But like in, what is this, part 3, about partway through the comic, there's a scene at a concert, and the top of the panel is this huge set of music notes. And I don't know, that kind of took me out of it a little bit because I wasn't sure where it was coming from or what it was doing there. And it's big and purple and then there's a pink one and a green one, and it just seemed a little out of place, at least to me. I don't know if anybody else would feel that way, but
yeah, actually, one point I wanted to ask you: did you read this on your phone?
I read it on my computer.
Yeah, I did the same, and I kind of got the feeling that in a phone this panel might have worked a little bit better, but on a desktop.
Yeah, you don't get as much vertically this way as you would on a like an iPhone 6s like I have.
Yeah, it the orientation is wrong, and so it's going to be kind of weird. But I think maybe there's just nothing we can do about it, because there were a couple of times where I was like, where they in chapter 1 where they have the map, and there's like everything kind of comes down into like a speech bubble that points to one location on the map showing Persia, and then another speech bubble coming out of Greece, and it going downward to the next part of the story. As a transitional device, is actually quite brilliant.
Yeah, I liked that too.
Yeah, but it was hard to read on a browser on my desktop. It might have worked a little bit better on the phone. So I think you're right. He is trying to actually dig into the format a little bit and bring some stuff up. But I think the way we looked at it a little bit wrong, I guess, in that sense. Which is really too bad, because I do like that. It is quite clever. Yeah.
Yeah. Now my browser's my Firefox is zoomed out to 80%, so that panel works at this size. But even at 80%, the music note is a little overwhelming.
I see. Actually, in chapter 3, I did want to point out one little bit where the king goes to get his hair cut. The barber is using hedge clippers. that was I mean, how would you like your hair cut? That's really that's rough.
Yeah, that I guess I didn't quite catch that, but gee, would they've even had hedge clippers in that?
I think it's just a gag, but I mean, he's just gonna like, whoa, what the hell? I like that one. But yeah, I you know, if I could take it down to just one point that I would change, I would say, at the risk of repeating myself, do a story that he's kind of made without aping a historical piece, and I think he would do much better. I also kind of get the feeling that he would do a little bit better in a tighter format, like a 4-panel comic, or maybe something as tight as a Calvin and Hobbes Sunday comic, where it's just like one page and that all the panels, no matter how many panels there are all right there. Because I think he could tell a story in that format, and it might work a little bit better. I think he did dig into this format quite well, but I think the other one-page format would be a little bit better for him.
Yeah, maybe.
Just artistically, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I just kind of get the feeling that maybe that format would actually lend itself a little bit better to an easy read and maybe easier writing.
Okay, our second comic is called Undetermined, written by Andrew Perry, art, colors, and lettering by Chris Holmes. And this he sent us the first 2 issues. They're a little long for issues. They're like 30 pages, I think, per issue. They were PDF files. The main character is this guy, Robert, who is in middle school, which I guess is what was junior high in my generation. So, he's early teens. And he's not very happy with his life. He's, his dad complains that he's looking at his phone all the time and he's mean to his little sister. And then, well, kind of weird things start happening because, like, he sees people die or get injured, and then, a few minutes later they're completely okay again, and he's not sure what's going on, obviously. That kind of thing kind of keeps happening, and I feel like there are sort of attempts to explain what's going on, but I read 2 issues and I still kind of feel like I'm in setup or something. Or, we keep getting more examples of sort of the kind of weird things happening that are supposed to make you think, what's going on? I want to read more and find out. And at the end of issue 1, this guy appears. There's an accent over that last E, so I guess it's Augere, Augere, who sort of appears at the end of the first issue and says, I've come to set things right. And then in issue 2, he kind of doesn't change anything. He kind of tries to explain what's been going on, and something about some sort of cosmic accident caused there to be like multiple realities. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah.
And so in some reality, the person is getting injured or killed. In another reality, they're not. And then this guy, Algera, he like wants, he's saying, in contrast to I've come to set things right, now it's like everything is up to you, Robert. It's all your choices. And he flips a coin and Robert calls heads, and then there's a big wrong at the bottom of the page. So, and I wasn't really sure. I felt like the comic was trying to explain things and then sort of withdrawing back into what the hell is going on, keep reading to find out kind of mode. And I never really felt like I was really on a journey to solve the problem, because the problem was, the definition of the problem was still not clear enough. Not as clear as I thought it should be after 2 issues.
I definitely see what you're saying. I agree completely, actually. I kind of felt that the first issue was a setup, but it didn't work very well as a setup. It seemed more like the writer and artist were kind of trying to feel their way through the project. And then the second book was more of a retread of the same material, because they were more sure about what they were doing, but they still felt like they hadn't said it completely. And so it seemed, I think you said it seemed like it was kind of running in place. And I kind of feel that. And also the repetitive what would you call it? Story device of dinner time.
Yes.
Seemed it's interesting if there's some element of some, I don't know, when I see people do this in stories, in other stories, there seems to be kind of like a thing that you're supposed to pick up on that's kind of subtle, but I feel like we never quite got that. And there's sometimes where it's just his mother shouting up dinner time, and then cut to later and him.
Yeah, that was really disorienting.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I can see that, but why have those first 2 panels? Why not just have him start in bed? I think. Yeah,
I assumed he was trying to establish, it's the same thing happening every day, which it certainly is. But yeah, I was expecting a scene to start, and then all of a sudden it's later.
Yeah. Now, that kind of situation would be great if we get to the alien being who's like man, the reason why your life's so boring is because we keep trying to fix this problem, which keeps resetting your day. And you're just living the same day over and over, or some shit like that. But it's not that. It's actually, there's a problem where there are multiverses, multiple versions of you, and you're just the boring version of you. But we're going to fix it, or you're going to fix it, or I'm not even sure. But here's the fucked up situation. Wait for part 3. But I kind of felt like there was no. It was kind of an interesting setup that didn't really have a payoff. Mm-hmm. But I also want to mention that the artwork between issue 1 and issue 2 stepped up a lot. Mm-hmm. In issue 1, the artist seemed to have some rudimentary ability, but in issue 2, they were really able to pull a lot more out of the scenes and the characters. They were drawn a little bit better, and there was more to each scene. Mm-hmm. So that was actually very, very nice to see. But yeah, it's kind of feels like they're making it up as they go along, rather than having an outline which kind of defines the overall story and tells them, okay, we're starting here, we're going there. I kind of feel more like, okay, we're starting here, and what happens next? I don't know, but maybe how about if he did this? And so it just feels not quite ready. Mm-hmm. Not quite developed.
Something I wanted to get into here. So his little sister keeps trying to be nice to him, and he keeps kind of rejecting her.
Yeah.
And she draws a picture that's supposed to be the two of them together, and she thinks it would cheer him up.
Yeah.
And he just kind of whatever and walks away. And his dad, I think it's his dad, we don't see the face of the person, but pushes it under his bedroom door. Mm-hmm. And Robert picks it up and wads it up and throws it away.
Yeah.
Now, then there's this whole thing where this bully, who I don't think he ever gets a name, throws rocks at him. And if I'm understanding this correctly, anytime one thing is thrown, it takes 3 panels to show it flying through the air, which sort of makes it feel like 3 rocks are being thrown. But anyway, the rock hits him in the back of the head and he's bleeding. And so Robert tries to throw maybe the same rock back at them, and it doesn't hit them. It hits this girl, Cassandra.
Yeah.
And so her nose is all bloody, and Robert is apparently loses consciousness. And then when he's in the hospital, it turns out that now she's fine.
Yeah.
And then, so they kind of, then that's when he gets the drawing and wads it up. Mm-hmm. And then later he runs into Cassandra and they talk, and I think that's supposed to be, it's moving toward, it feels like maybe there's kind of a relationship forming between them. And then the next panel on the next page, it starts Just Another Evening, and I missed that there was a question mark there because I'd seen Just Another Evening so many times that I just sort of jumped past it. But there's a question mark there which was meant to be significant. And then we've got Robert Dinner again. And then he pulls the wadded up drawing out of the trash and puts it up on his mirror, and he's smiling, and it says, "Sometimes good things happen." And I was like, why did he change his mind about the drawing? The first time through, I didn't get it. I didn't get the connection. I guess it's supposed to be that he's happy about meeting a girl who talks to him, but I felt like the connection wasn't strong enough.
Right. Yeah, I kind of feel that too. I mean, at one point I was thinking that maybe it was a girl that only he could see,
Mm,
like some sort of ghost thing. But if that's not the case, and in fact, if in fact she's hopping from one reality to another, then it would mean that everybody could see her. At least I would assume. And so there's some things here that just don't quite add up still. And we're 2 issues in. We should at least have some sort of rules that are kind of establish what this is.
mm-hmm.
Then in later in the story, if you want to turn those rules on their head, it comes as a surprising twist rather than a confusing series of events. I kind of feel like we don't know enough for how far into the book we are already at.
Right. Yeah, me too. Yeah. Issue 2, page 10, I was kind of lost. Well, partly because I guess I didn't notice until just now what was happening on the panel where it says wrong. I guess Olgera is chopping Robert's fingers off.
Yep.
I had missed that. I was distracted by the coin, and it looked like a big coin there or something. But no, that's the motion line of the blade.
Yeah.
So then I was kind of lost when on the next panel, Robert is at the dinner table saying, "Why does my hand still hurt?" Because now his fingers are back, but he said, "Why does my hand still hurt?" And I was puzzled by that. And then I was also puzzled by why his sister is saying, "Heh heh, blarg, heh heh," with her tongue sticking out the side of her mouth. I couldn't follow that at all.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel that there's a lot in this comic that kind of needs explanation. I kind of wish it didn't, but yeah.
So yeah, and
but also I just on that page where his sister is playing with his phone and she pulls up a loogie and spits it on her phone. So I have a younger sister and she's never done that to my phone. Well,
yeah, and it's green snot too.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks like actually looks like the amount it covers the entirety of the screen. It's like, my God, if a kid hocked up that kind of loogie on anything, his parents would be taking him to the hospital because that's some just wrong shit. That's a pile of green puke. It's not. It's not. But yeah, a bit much.
And then there were places where, yeah, I mean that's another example, I guess. But I just felt like I couldn't. It was hard to draw the connections from one panel to the next sometimes. I was kind of, but like he gets a new phone then because his other phone has been, well, both the screen was shattered and then it got the green snot all over it. So we've got a cool new phone. He's walking across a road, and then the next panel, what the hell is this? And there are a bunch of, I guess they're other versions of him. Yeah. They're all wearing like similar pajamas, and they're all saying, "Why didn't you leave me alone?" I guess those are the people, the versions of him in the other realities who have been injured by him somehow, although we don't really understand, or I don't understand how. No, please wait, and we've got all the pictures of the people heading towards him, and then he's hit by a bus. And I didn't quite get that all this was happening while he was standing in the middle of the road. It just felt a little disconnected to me.
Yeah, it does feel like there's a panel or two missing. And it's like the things that are supposed to be like subtle hints towards something are a little too subtle, so you might miss like the question mark on another typical evening. And some other things are just not explained. So yeah, I feel like there are chunks missing in the storytelling here.
And I'm still confused about Algera because he said he was going to fix everything, and then he turned around and said it's all Robert's fault because it's all by his choices. And then
Right.
at the end of issue 2, Robert is saying, "It's your choice, Algera. You decide." Like, really? Well,
Yeah.
I'm really confused about how much control Algera has over anything.
Well, also, if there was any decision that he made that actually was a catalyst for any of this, because what we seem to see is a mopey teenager who does nothing except play video games and get yelled at by his mom and rocks thrown at. And so, yeah, I kind of don't see any of it, the why of it anyway. It's kind of confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, if you would like us to critique your comics, send a PDF or a link to mail@deconstructingcomics.com, and we'll read at least 30 pages of it and critique it on the show. And this show is just sort of coming out whenever these days, because I've got more proofreading work coming up, and the calendar for it is a little fuzzy right now, and I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to be busy with that again. Plus, I'm busy with way too many other things, as I always am. I do this to myself. So, anyway, thanks for listening. This is Tim.
And Mulele.
And thanks for listening to Critiquing Comics.